Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for those birthday wishes and your singing. My son needs to stop singing, all right? That is definitely, listen to him on the video. I did not know about the video. I saw it in the first service, and we would have struck the video. But anyways, and so thank you for being here today. The best gift we could have all gotten today was sunshine. Can we give a hand to the Lord for some sun? Oh, Lordy. Man. I walked out this morning, I left really early, I saw the moon, and I thought, there's a chance we might see the sun today, and it's just glorious. If we had a retractable roof, we would have one today. We would just do an open air deal today. Well, I'm so glad you're here. If I've never met you before, we're honored that you took time. We do not normally sing like that, and so thank you for being a part today. This is NorthStar's family. To me, you know, I'll hit it a little later in the service. When we started NorthStar, I was 28. So really most of my adult years, I've grown up here and gotten to grow up with you and Mary Michael, who's graduating this spring. We're up with her this week. She was not even born yet when NorthStar started. I mean, that's how long we've been around. And so it's just neat to be with family and neat to get to experience this today. So I want you to go ahead and do me a favor. Get ahead a little bit. Turn to Hebrews chapter 12. That's where we're going to be, Hebrews 12. If you got your NorthStar app, you can pull it out and pop over there. If you got your Bible, you can pull over there. Hopefully you got something to read along as we go along this morning. You also were given some notes on the way in. Pull those out. Those will be your guide as we work along. If you're on the app, there's a note section in the app that you can take. So right at the top of your outline, I want you to write something, or in your app, I want you to type something. All right? We are all in a race. Would you write that down? We are all in a race. This race that we are all in, there's a universal race, right? There's a universal race that we're all running. You begin your walk with Jesus, and you begin to walk with Jesus, and you begin to know Jesus. There is a physical Christian race that we're all in. This letter is written to Hebrew Christians about how they're running the race, because some of them were questioning, some of them were doubting, some of them were wondering, some of them were wanting to drop out, some of them wanting to get out of the race. There is a universal race that we're all running. We run this race together, the race of life. We're all running together in this walk with Jesus, this run. In fact, at the beginning of this Hebrews 12, he said, fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. So as we're running our race, we've got something to focus on. But there's a personal race. Would you write that down? I'm in a personal race. At the beginning of Hebrews, he said it's a race marked out for us. Your race may be a little different than my race, right? We all do something. I'm looking out today. I see business leaders, real estate agents. I see some pilots. I see some lawyers. I see some just people that are just generally doing life and business and doing your thing. I am in ministry. That's what I do. I do baseball for a hobby on the side, but I run this race, and the race marked out for me was full-time ministry. And so I always thought I would do student ministry. That's what I always thought I would do. And so NorthStar comes along, and I begin to help Ike. And then in 2003, Ike leaves, and I became the senior pastor. Let you know a little church secret. Nobody ever voted on it, all right? And so I just became the senior pastor. You're like, is that legal? Well, it's been a long time now. I don't know what you're going to do with that, but it's been a while. So that was 2003. You're stuck. It's common law, all right? And so you're stuck with me. I don't know what you're going to do. One day, there's going to be a real pastor show up, and you'll go, oh, that's what it's supposed to be like. But until then, you're stuck with me. That's my race. That's the race I'm running. There is a personal race that you're all running. What the writer is talking to today is both personal and universal. There's a race we're all running together, and he talks about how we run it. And there's a race you and I are running, and he talks about how we run it. Now, I know this about every leader. Every leader knows when to look out the front windshield, and they know when to look in the mirror. Vision comes out the windshield. Introspection and growth comes in the mirror. Today, he's going to have us looking in the mirror a little bit. Today, we are going to spend some time looking at maybe some issues, stuff, things in our lives that we go, whoa, I didn't know that was there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hebrews 12, verse 14. Would y'all stand with me as we read this together? Understand today, these words you're going to read aren't, and here's a couple other thoughts. These are words of passion. They are words of some oomph behind them. They're not like, and you should consider. It's way more than that. If you heard it in the tone and vernacular of that day, you'd have gone, man, this is serious. That's the word. What he writes to us today is not what we maybe want to hear, but maybe what we need to hear. Verse 14, strive, we'll talk about that in a second, for peace with who? You know, I looked for the clause somewhere in there that said, strive for peace with those that I agree with. It wasn't there. Strive for peace with people who voted like me. I couldn't find it. Strive for peace with those that like me. Not there. He says, strive for peace with who? Interesting. See, back during that time, he knew that this church was the only physical representation of what Jesus looked like. And if they didn't do that, who would? And they were going to associate Jesus, back then, with whatever this church looked like. Y'all do know that still happens. Everybody aware of that? Our world still associates Jesus with us. Look at what he goes on to say. Strive for peace with everyone and for the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. Strive for peace, strive for holiness. See to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many may become defiled. And that root of bitterness is the picture of something that's growing underneath that we have to know is there because it's going to cause trouble, and we got to pull it out. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. That no one is sexually immoral or unholy like Esau. Now, if you lived back then, you would have known what he was talking about. I'll tell you, if you're new to the whole church thing, you're like, I don't know who Esau is. I'll fill you in here in a few minutes. Who sold his birthright for a single meal. For you know that afterward, when he desired to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no chance to repent, though he sought it with tears. Your race matters to you. Your race matters to others. And your race matters to the Lord. And that's what we're going to talk about. Pray with me. Father, we just ask you to pull up a chair today. And God, may we pull out that mirror that we may not want to see to look in at how we are running our race. Because it matters. Not just my race matters. All of our races matters to somebody. So God, make your word pop off that page. God, may it crawl up into our laps, into our lives. Father, when we leave here today, may we be glad we looked in. And Father, may we continue to look in at what you want to say to us. Speak to us and show us today what you have for us. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. Before you're seated, find 3 people and say, I thought Mike was 29. Do it. I just want you to, I want to hear you say it. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. You do that and you can be seated. Makes me feel better. Makes me feel better. So, you know, have you lived long enough? Have you lived long enough to learn there's things you want to hear and there's things you need to hear, right? There's just some things I want to hear, and then there's some things I need to hear. We were coming in from a mission trip couple years ago. It was our medical mission trip, and so sitting on and we're toast by Friday. We're exhausted, and so whatever the trip ended, Friday, Saturday, whatever day it was, and we're on the plane flying home, and I'm sitting there, and I've got a book that I've taken down there that I'm too tired every night. We get back to Steve and Esther's, and we're too tired to read. If you just lay down and you go to sleep and get ready for the next day, and so I got my book out. I'm getting ready to read, and so I've got a habit. It's a really bad habit. Maybe there's some other friends in the room, you've gotten into this. Like when I get a bill at the restaurant and I get it and I open up the bill, I have to pull out the flashlight on my phone to see what the amount is. And it drives the kids crazy. They're like, Dad, let me give it. Not they want to pay it. They just want to go, Dad, they don't want me to have my flashlight out. Right? I just can't see. Restaurants are dark. And so anyway, I felt, Bill. Well, we're on the plane flying home from Haiti, and I'm sitting there, and on the row next to me are two brothers that go here. One's a dentist and one's an optometrist, and they're sitting on the row next to me. And so I pull out my book, and I'm like, wow, man, this plane is so dark. And I'm sitting there, and I'm reading my book, and I've got my flashlight reading the book. And one of the brothers, Mark, who's the optometrist, throws me a pair of glasses. He just throws them across the aisle, and he goes, here, you need these. So he said, that's none of his business. I mean, it's not a consultation. I'm not asking for help. And I'm like, no. This is what I said. The plane's just dark. That's what I said. Mark goes, no, you can't see. That's what the problem is. And I put on the glasses, and I'm like, whoa, holy smokes, this is unbelievable. This is incredible. How much do these cost? They're $1. They're $1. Not what I wanted, but what I needed, right? It was soon thereafter, I was standing up here speaking on a Sunday morning, and I looked down at the type on the page, and I'm like, whoa, this is way too small. So I went down to Lifeway. I need to go get a new Bible, and I went in and I said, I can't. It's my print. I think I just got one of the student editions. I need to get another print. And the lady, this is unbelievable. This was so rude. She brings me a large print. That's what my mom had. I'm like, no. I can't. I just need the next step up. And she goes, that's the next step up. That's what it is. I left. I did not get it. All right, I did not get that Bible. Not what I wanted, but what I what? Today's what you need to hear, maybe not what you want to hear. Today's one of those things you'll look at in your life and you're like, ooh, not what I wanted, but what I needed. See, the writer was watching this group of people run this race. He was watching Hebrews 11 people, the heroes, run the race, and he began to see some common denominators that were going on with people in the race. There were areas they kept stumbling in, and he's like, stay awake here. Be careful here. This is a dangerous place here. While you're running this race, this universal race, there's some areas we watch people keep stumbling in. So my brother growing up was 11 years older. My sister was 9 years older than me, 8, 9 years older than me. Well, I didn't get in trouble a lot growing up because all I did was watch what they stayed in trouble for and just didn't do it. Well, this today is what the author's telling us. I'm helping you in the race. There's 3 areas that people keep falling in. Ready? Pen, pencil, something to write with, thumbs to type with on your phone. Area number 1, conflict. Seek peace with others quickly. He was beginning to watch this early group of believers, and you know what he was noticing? There was discontent with them. There was conflict with them. So what's conflict? Well, conflict is the lack of peace. Right? He makes an interesting phrase there when he talks about peace. Seek peace with others, and look at the point. Y'all go back to the point up there. Seek peace with others. What's that next word? Quickly. So in the verse we're going to look at, he said, strive for peace. See if we can go back to when we read it a second ago. Strive for peace with who? Now, here's what strive means. This is really interesting. So when we're home together, like over Christmas break, and the kids come home, and we're sitting there watching, if Cops is on, Casey's going to watch Cops. He loves Cops. He loves it. Alarming at times, but he loves watching Cops. And you'll hear, and I think Cops just makes you feel better about yourself. All right, you're watching going, I would never be that stupid. All right, and so, but anyway, so we're watching Cops, and you'll hear them radio in, we're in hot pursuit. We're in hot pursuit of whatever crazy thing that's happened. We're in hot pursuit. Do you know what strive means? Hot pursuit. Now I want you to listen to what he said. We, believers, should be in hot pursuit of peace with everybody. Now that's interesting. Now back during this time, the early church, they were in hot water because of what they believed. You would think it would be said, stand up for your rights, demand justice. Not what he said. The writer told them, strive for peace with everyone. Why? Because it is a reflection of what we value about God. It is a reflection, period. If I were to walk up to the Battery, if I were to go to the Battery on Wednesday, Braves aren't there yet, but everybody's down there eating, and majority of people don't go to church now in our society. It used to be everybody went to church. Now, most people don't go to church. And I were to walk up to people and say, hey, if I were to ask you the question, do you think the church is a place of peace or conflict? The church universal, not NorthStar, the church universal. I have a feeling the overwhelming majority of people would say the church is a place of conflict. They're always against stuff. They're always upset about something. They're always... Which is so ironic because that's not what he said. He said, strive for peace with everyone. The best, now, what you cannot handle is what they do with it. You can only handle your response to it. So Ann and I, we were doing a marriage retreat the other week out in Colorado, and I was telling the story. I said when our kids were growing up, we used to say this phrase all the time, we want our home to be a place of peace. When you walk through our doors, it should feel peaceful. I want it to be the safest place on earth. And we would gather in, and sometimes we'd had a great day and walk in, and then there were other times they walked in, and I remember sitting there at dinner, and everybody's at each other, and I'm like, you need to leave. Get out of the house, and we're all going to come back in. Dad, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Nope, you brought conflict in the house. I don't want to hear it. Walk out. And we'll all come back in together, right? Because peace is tangible. You can feel peace. He said to seek peace with everybody. Look at what Ephesians says. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. I want you to write down 3 places for peace. Ready? Peace in our homes. It should be reflected out of our houses. We should strive for peace. It doesn't mean it may be reciprocated, but it means we should strive for it. I don't know if you've ever met somebody, I don't want you to point, but they're a walking civil war. Wherever they go, they leave conflict in their wake. There's kids, you pick them up on teams. This is a true story. I used to coach travel baseball. How many of y'all have participated in some sport, travel, soccer, baseball, volleyball? Raise your hand. Toxic environments, all right? We agree? Toxic environments. This is a true story. When I used to pick teams, C.A. Phillips, who's on our staff now, didn't have a kid. You know what I would do with C.A.? He said, where do you want me to help evaluate? I said, I want you to sit with the parents and evaluate the parents. And if they are toxic in the bleachers, tell me who the kid is and they're cut. Why? Because people like that can take a great environment and stir it up. They just stir it up. They just stir conflict everywhere. They just, everywhere they go, they leave it. Peace in our homes. Second place, peace in our workplaces. Probably the second place we spend the most amount of time is at the workplace or school. It's where we spend the most of our time. Are we an agent of peace there? Would anybody associate us with Jesus there? We have to ask that question. Was the way I live out my life anti who he was? Remember, Jesus said, you can boil all the 10 commandments down to these two things. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Second, love your neighbor as who? Well, that's sort of the deal. Strive for peace with everybody. Listen, the world is sitting there making a decision on Jesus on us. Look as much like him as you can. Strive for peace. The third is in our hobbies, wherever that may be. That hobby that we do. It was interesting. I was listening to a guy talk about this yesterday, and he said there was one of the early emperors. They were trying to figure out why the Christian movement was gaining. I believe it was Trajan, and they were trying to figure out why the Christian movement was gaining so much. And they told one of their guys to basically go in and pose as one of the Christians if you can figure out what their secret is. And so the guy came back and he said, here's what I'll tell you. They sing and worship as if the person is there. This is what they said, talking about Christ, is there. Secondly, they really love each other. That's interesting, isn't it? They really love each other. There was peace. And it marked him. One of my favorite things about NorthStar is this is a peaceful place. Somebody's like, I know there's a lot of political stuff going on. There really isn't. It's just a peaceful place. Now, does everybody always get along? No. But we've learned to live it. We can agree to disagree on stuff, right? We're all going to vote different. We're all going to, but when it comes down to it, we've learned to live at peace. Second thing is conformity. Be vigilant to root out sin immediately. Be vigilant to root out sin immediately. He said, be in hot pursuit of peace. But he also said, be in hot pursuit of holiness. So here's a question we've all got to ask when we've got our mirror out. Am I passionate? Here's a question. I want you to write this down. Under number 2, am I passionate about looking like Jesus? Am I passionate about that? Not going to church, not what I'm asking you. I'm talking about Monday to Saturday. Am I passionate for holiness? Peace is I'm right this way. Holiness is I'm right this way. Now, are any of us good enough, yes or no question, to be considered holy? Yes or no? No, not in and of ourselves. Here's the word I want you to write down, grace. It's only by grace that we receive the right to be considered holy. Only by grace. And it's only by grace that we strive to please the Lord. It's not, we're never going to do enough. Here's what a great author, he said it this way. This was really good. I couldn't say it any better. He said, our worst days are never so bad we're beyond the reach of God's grace. And our best days are never so good that you're beyond the need for God's grace. It's all about grace. It's all about what he does in our lives. Am I passionate to be holy? This is a conversation I used to have with my kids. And because we're family, I'm going to have it with us. I love you. And I love you too much to not have this challenge for you and for me. If our lives don't look different than everybody else's, why? If you are striving to be holy, your life's going to look different. And you're not going to say, hey, bring attention to yourself. You're going to love differently. You're going to serve differently. You're going to act differently. You're going to respond differently. The people around you are going to go, I don't really know what's different about them. They're just not like everybody else. That's holiness. And let me tell you what it is. And here's the word I want you to write down. It is contagious. When you see that, it's different. It is a sweet fragrance. There is some plant, and I don't know the name of it. I'm not an outdoorsy guy. But there's a plant we've got behind this old farmhouse we bought. I don't know what it is. Our guy told us. I don't remember the name of it. It's the best smelling thing I've ever smelled in my life. You walk out our door and you smell it. It is the sweetest fragrance I have ever smelled in my life. Don't you pray that your life is that sweet fragrance of the Lord? That when you leave a situation or somebody, you leave an aroma of Christ? So Monday night, I got 21 pitchers and catchers and coaches coming over to my house for dinner. There will be an aroma left in my house, and it will not be the fragrance of Christ. All right, it will smell like practice. It will stink. But anyway, so that's a whole nother deal. We should look like we want to be vigilant to root out sin. Meaning, when we see something in our life that doesn't belong, he said, dig it out. Get out that root of bitterness, because I'm telling you, it's going to stain everything. And point number 3 is the word carnality. Carnality. Don't devalue the gifts of God nor the plan of God for your life. Here's the easy way to say it. Don't sell yourself short for momentary pleasure. So here's the story of Esau. So back during the time, this is the way it worked. When 2 boys were born in a family, whoever came out first, because of their being first, got the birthright. That was the deal. You were considered as the one that was older to get the value of your dad. Well, Jacob had 2 sons, twins, Isaac and Esau. Now Isaac had 2 twins, Jacob and Esau. And so Isaac loved both his sons. The mom loved one of the sons more. Esau came out first. Story goes that Esau had been out working and he'd been out doing his thing out in the field and came in, and Jacob was there at the house. He was preparing some lentil soup, just a common meal of the day, nothing special about it. But man, when you're hungry and you're famished and you've been out working, you're hungry right then. And Esau says the craziest thing to his brother Jacob. He said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you my birthright for a bowl of that soup. Excuse me? I'll sell you my birthright, meaning the stuff, the favor of the father, the future, the spoils, the inheritance. Both sons would get a little bit, but the first always got most. And Jacob goes, you would do what? I'll sell you my birthright for a bowl of that soup, stew. Here you go. Probably took a couple gulps, and everything changed forever. Later on in the story, he tricks the dad to giving him a spoken blessing, and it changed the course of these 2 young men's lives forever. And you're like, that's the crazy. Listen, you read the Bible, it's full of jacked up people. You will feel it's like watching Cops. You're going, I'm not so bad. I mean, it's some messed up stories in the Bible. And you're reading this going, who would do that? Oh, people do it all the time. They'll sell out a marriage for a momentary pleasure. Won't they? A little bowl of stew. And all of a sudden we sold our birthright. Does it mean we lose our salvation? No. We may lose our family for a bowl of stew. Ethical business decision. He said, I'm telling you, I'm watching people run the race. Run at peace. Strive to be holy. Don't be like Esau, because you're going to regret it. There used to be a point, and I'm a striver by nature and a competitor by nature. I used to want to win every race. I'm just going to be completely honest. I just want to finish this race well now. I don't even necessarily want to win it anymore. I just want to finish well. Because it's so easy to trip into one of these things, which we all are going to trip at some point. What do we do? What do we learn? A couple little thoughts and we're done. The major temptation for us who fall down in the race is to stay down and not get back up. The rider does not give this option. Well, Mike, when I fall down and when I stumble at one of these points, my race is done. No, it's not. It's not done. It's only done when you don't get up and you keep running. Well, Mike, this church is full of people who all have run the race without ever getting a skinned knee. No, it's not. All right, let me just let you in a little bit. Trust me, you're safe here. Can we all agree nobody here's got it together? Can we all agree with that? Listen, the minute I think I have it together, I'll have an umpire Tuesday night. I mean, I don't have it all together. I mean, it's just the way that it works. And we all have those areas that cause us to stumble. You gotta get up and you gotta keep running. I don't know what it was that may have caused you to think God's done with me. God is not. If you have breath in your lungs, everybody look at me. God is not done with you. And he can still use your story. Just may not be the way you thought he would. Here's the warning from the writer of Hebrews. The longer we stay down, the harder our hearts become. It's harder to get back up every day that I stay down. God's not done using you. Well, Mike, I failed. Yeah, you may have. But it doesn't mean you have to fail again. Mike, can God ever use me again? Sure he can if you get up and you run. Using those who stay down are the harder ones to use because they're not back in the race. Realize Jesus is still waving us to the finish line no matter how many times we stumble and fall. And you're going to stumble. I'm going to stumble and I'm going to fall. You know the hard part? I should be completely honest with you. I know when I fall, you're affected. And I feel that weight. I want to run well. Because I want you not to stumble because I stumbled. Final thing we learn is we need a running partner. He was talking in this early church about running together. We're going to be better together. We're going to be better if we run this race together. Because there's some days you don't want to get up and run and you need somebody to go, come on, let's get up, let's go. We got to go. Mike, I don't want to run, but you got to get up. We got to keep going. You know, as I prepared this week and I was out in my yard working yesterday, I was thinking about today. I wonder, okay, God, how am I running? Am I living at peace with everyone? Sometimes. And sometimes I'm not. That means there's areas of my life I've got to go, okay, I got to do better, and I've got to do better there. And there are some tangible things in my life I've got to do better in that realm of peace. Holiness is my life, honoring the Lord. All right, everybody look at me. Not when y'all are watching, but when nobody's watching. I'm really good about being holy when everybody's watching, right? But when nobody's watching, there's no eyes on you but the Lord's. Does my heart strive to honor him? And third, am I selling myself out for anything cheap? It's not going to last. How do I do it? Every day, fix your eyes on him and run towards him. If you will do that from today forward, every day you lock your eyes on Jesus once a day, twice a day, and you run towards him, you will be amazed at how pleased you are with the direction that you end up. Would you pray with me? Father, my passion for this church is we're not a church with every bell and whistle. God, I pray that we're not a church that just comes and goes with new fads and trends. It's good to keep up. God, I just pray we're a church who looks and loves like you, which means that we all run our race well, and we are in hot pursuit of peace with everyone as best we can. We're in hot pursuit of holiness, striving to look like you. I mean, there's things that in my life that cause me not to, that I got to get rid of and I got to give up. Not because it earns your favor, but because of grace. Why would I want something there that doesn't look like the one who's given me so much? Maybe you are one that stumbled today. You're like, Mike, I don't want God to be done with my story. Tell him and tell someone. Just take a second, would you? Right where you are this morning. And talk to him about what you saw in the mirror, would you?